Say again.
We're going to go live here in just a second.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. John Gums, Dakota Grappler, going live. Going to have a great show tonight. This is the last show in November, pretty much. We're going to go into December. Wrestling has started in the state. We had a lot of big duels last night for high school. Tonight we got two great guests. I call him the legendary Scott Knowlen. I can't even count the number of state championships he's been behind. He retired and then back into the game. Never truly retired. We all know that. He's been in that Bismarck room in and out, even in retirement. And then on the other side, I've been a fan of his when he was wrestling at SDSU. Even paid attention to him when he was over in Spearfish, South Dakota. We got Nate Rotert, and he's a great guest. He's been at Harrisburg now for a little while and doing the high school scene. So we're going to talk a little bit of wrestling, and excited for these two guests tonight. Again, I'm John Gums. I'm the owner and editor of Dakota Grappler. We'll go around and do a few interviews, and I think everybody's got their name on there. So let's start with you, Bill. Quick introduction, and we'll just have everybody else go.
Yeah, just Bill Holton, big wrestling fan. Obviously been around the sport a long time, and everything from a wrestler to coach, wrestling parent, and now mostly a fan. So I'll be excited to talk to Scott and Nate tonight.
Okay, well, awesome. And I'll start with I'll call them I usually start with the women, but you do the women coaching. So I'm going to go with Scotty Knowlen. Why don't you just introduce yourself? Give us a little background, about a minute introduction on what you've been doing in wrestling.
Well, I ended up after I completed my college degree and competing in college, I went to Mandan for 5 years, where I first met you, John, on that Century team. I got to know Terry and Troy because I was just out of college. I was about their size, and they were just hungry to get on the mat and learn things. So Terry and Troy Steiner worked out a lot with me their junior and senior years. And that's where I first came to know you, John, on their team. And then I went to Bismarck High as a head coach and with Mark Carter. He's the one that brought me in, and I know you go back with him quite a ways, John. You and
yes, I do.
Or your dad and him were pretty tight, I think, at one time. And then I retired, I should say, from teaching and coaching in 2015. And then I got back into it. Chad Renner wanted me to help his son Caden when he was in his middle school years. So I started volunteering, jumped back into the room a little bit. And the last 2 years, 2020, 2021, I jumped back in as an assistant for Mark and Jeff at Bismarck High. And then now finally I talked to Terry and Troy this summer. Mostly Terry's influence helped me get my head around coaching girls wrestling. At first I wasn't there yet. I needed to be I don't know I don't know if prodded needed to be the right word, but I needed to just kind of wrap my head around it and take a look at things from a different perspective. And Terry helped me to do that. And of course, he's the Olympic women's coach, so he was a good resource for me to have. So that's where I'm at now. I'm actually the head coach of the 3 Bismarck Public Schools girls programs. Even though we practice all together, we compete under the Legacy, Century, and Bismarck teams.
Okay. Yeah, I tell you what, I'm excited to talk to you about that because, you guys had to move locations, and we're going to get into all that and all different practice schedules. And if there's little delays in the computer tonight, we've got a little technology issues, but we'll be good. You guys can always hear it, and I'll put this on a podcast later. Also, you guys go back, and all this stuff kind of syncs up. YouTube does that thing too. So if our lips don't match our words, just, you're not looking at us for our beauty. You're going to listen to us for our wrestling knowledge. Like I said, like Bill and I have said, we got faces for radio. and so now we'll go over to Nate. Nate, let's introduce yourself. You can tell you're quite a bit younger, but I tell you what, I watched you last year, a lot of fire, and your team is really looking good in Harrisburg, South Dakota. So give us a little grow up, where you grew up, and, over in the Black Hills, and go from there. Kind of give us your little, what you've done so far in your wrestling career.
Yeah, well, you kind of set me up with Scott leading off. I mean, I'm years behind that success, but yeah, growing up in Spearfish, moved there when I was in first grade. My dad was the chief of police in Spearfish for a long time. just kind of a staple in our community. Started wrestling when I was in first grade. Fast forward through it all. Got pulled up to varsity as a 7th grader at 160. That's how I started my time in Spearfish, and I think my record was like 3-18 as a 7th grader wrestling varsity, getting beat up on. Kind of took my lumps. Ended up doing decently well in high school. Finished as a 2-time state champ. Was lucky enough to get recruited to wrestle in college. Had a lot of good opportunities, but chose my home state at SDSU. Coach Bono, that was there at the time, sold me on doing something big for my home state. He told me, now you can go to the Nebraskas, the Minnesotas that are recruiting you and be another name on the wall, or you can try and be someone that starts something that gets names on the wall. So that's kind of what sold me to go to SDSU, and made some of my best friends for a lifetime there and had some of the best experiences I could have. Met my wife, Chloe, there. Her dad, Dave Cornman, was actually a Division II national champion there at SDSU, so we kind of have an SDSU legacy role in the family. But yeah, from there, I was lucky enough to be retained once Coach Bono left as the recruiting coordinator on staff for 2 years with Coach Damian Hahn, Cam Simaz, and Cody Caldwell. Chris Dardanes was there during my time as well. So a lot of like really good wrestling knowledge of those guys and experiences that I was able to learn from. So yeah, kind of mentioned to you guys pre-show, been living in Harrisburg the last 2.5 years. Kind of had to make a decision for my family. My wife was in physical therapy school and was like, you can only take on so much debt. So Dave Ramsey wouldn't be happy if I just sat there and didn't make some money. So we had a great opportunity to go to one of, honestly, when you look at just schooling and education in our South Dakota, Harrisburg is a really good district, man. So I'm a school counselor here in one of our 7 elementary schools at Freedom Elementary here in Harrisburg. From there, I was still driving up to Brookings for once, twice a week, sometimes 3 times to wrestle with guys like Tanner Sloan, Nick Casperson that's on the team, a lot of these bigger guys, do individuals with them. And then here's the kicker. We our daughter, May Catherine Rotert, she was born in June of this last summer. And even before then, the opportunity presented itself to be the head coach of Harrisburg High School. And the person I talked to the longest was Coach Damian Hahn at SDSU. I talked to him for about an hour. And I mean, the whole time it was a great understanding, great perspective. And what he left me with was, the most valuable place you can be is where you can spend the most time. And Harrisburg is in my backyard. So I can impact a lot more guys that way. And here we are, man. We're got a good team. Like you said, we got a lot of young guys. Our youth club is tough. South Dakota wrestling as a whole, I mean, I'll be pretty open. It is down. And I hope that I can, in a small way, build up a little bit, even where we're at. And yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm fired up. So.
Well, you've heard the things in South Dakota. There's always the battle between West River and East River. And West River dominated for years. But now in that sense, you could say, Beersford having the academy, Legends of Gold. And then now Sioux Falls has a nice club going. And that corner of the state is a hotbed. I tell you what, if you really wanted to wrestle, you have Nebraska, you have Iowa. What better? And the edge of Minnesota is not far away either. And you can go in a 50-mile radius and get now the mecca of South Dakota wrestling. You take the old Park Stins, you got Canton, you have so many of those teams right there. You have competition day in and day out if you wanted it.
Yeah, and like with those things, there's the old school mentality, a lot of the traditional minds here that are like, you don't wrestle other people from other schools, you just wrestle your partners and you get better in your own room. And that's where the sport in the state's going to die if we can't let the best guys wrestle against each other, iron sharpen iron mentality. And like some of these guys work out in the summer against each other and then they're wrestling for state titles against each other. But they don't care because they're worried about getting better, not dodging people or not allowing others to get. It's been a good thing. Yes, because people train hard and they come back and represent their schools in an even better way. So
that's also the new thing that I see is there's guys that look beyond high school. And it's kind of the mentality, small schools that I grew up with. Guess what? You're building to be a state champion. And I learned this from the Bismarck High Room and the Mat Pack people was that we're not training you to be a state champion, we're training you to be a national champion. And that philosophy is huge. And I don't know if you guys are instilling things like that in your room in Harrisburg, but I'll give that credit to Scotty Knowlen and Jeff Schumacher.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the goal, right? But it's also baby steps. I'm sure Scott can attest to that too. It's you can't jump in all 210 pounds of me, throwing it all on them. Hey, this is what you need to do. But it's creating relationships, making them feel valued, making them have a connection. And then I'm sure Scott's seen it a million times. Then they do about anything for you. And then they believe in themselves that that is the level they can reach. We have a couple of guys in that room. But yeah, there's also 80% of them that aren't that level. So I got to be able to coach to them and make their experience positive, because there's so many guys in this country that were not state champions, didn't place, but like they wear that patch proudly of being a wrestler. So I really want people to stick around and get stuff out of the sport you can. Teach you a lot of good lessons. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, awesome. I tell you, a great start to the interview. Bill, let's get you firing some stuff.
Yeah, great start to a career, I think, Nate. That's awesome. So, Scott, I don't know. I think you're one of those guys that have failed retirement a couple times. So, and the rest of the community is better for it. I tell us a little bit about the girls program that you've got going in Bismarck, and how many girls you're working with, and who you have helping you as assistant coaches, and kind of how that's going.
Well, initially, like I said, when the Steiners were back home this last summer, they did a camp down at MatPac, and I got to talk to Terry a little bit about just the idea of the differences between coaching women or girls and guys, and I had to sort through some of that, and he was a good resource for that. So it was a couple weeks after that camp that I applied. And when I applied, the advertisement was for a head coach for each of the 3 high schools. However, when I got to the interview, they changed the model to be what it is now. In other words, they didn't feel like there was going to be enough girls signed up based on preliminary indications in order to have enough practice partners in each of those 3 wrestling rooms. And I could understand that. I could concur with that. But I didn't want to do something like the Bismarck Blizzard, the hockey team, where they just consolidated one team for all 3 high schools. So they said, that's not what we're doing. We're going to just practice together, but we'll compete as 3 separate teams. So I was a little more on board with that. And so I proceeded through that interview, and I basically committed to a couple of 3 years to help build these programs until they can branch off and sustain themselves in each of the 3 high schools with a head coach and an assistant or 2. However, when I did get the job offered, there was a couple of the other applicants that wanted to still help out. So they agreed to come on board as assistant coaches. So right now, Austin Eichman, he's a Hastings, Minnesota kid, but he wrestled for Adam Aho at the University of Mary. So he's helping me. Jared Keller's a Mandan kid. He wrestled for the University of Mary. I know he was a backup guy, but there was a guy ahead of him, and I'm not exactly sure who got hurt in Mary's lineup. So Jared actually did compete a couple of years varsity for University of Mary. So they're both those guys are great. They're young guys. They're energetic. They want to make a mark. They want to do what they can to help grow this program. So I really appreciate that. And then I've got another fella by the name of Tony Steckler. Once we hit 40 girls, our athletic director gave us another guy to help out, Tony Steckler. He's got some coaching background back in Dickinson. He's a little older. He's not quite as old as me, but he's got a couple of old guys and a couple of young guys on staff. So it's a good combination, and Tony brings a lot of good things to the room too. Right now we're sitting at we were signed up 15 to 20 girls per school, total of about 50 girls. But when we first started practice we're on our 3rd week now. So November 8th, when we first started practice, there were 43, 44 that showed up, and we've only lost a couple off of that number. So far so good. I'm just real anxious. I know, John, I told you, I said, I don't know how how much I can contribute to the conversation, since we're just brand new at this, and we're trying to adapt. And I've had to pivot a couple times already in my approach, which I knew talking to Terry I would. And so he's given me some insight on that. But, once we get into the competition and make some adjustments, I'm sure there's going to be more our staff is going to have to make for these girls. I'll just sit back here and listen to you guys and offer up whatever I can. It's not, I don't have a whole lot of girls coaching experience right now. So
I tell you what, it's way more than that. There's coaching philosophy that goes with everything. And your experience means more than you can ever believe, Scotty, that guess what? These beginning moves that you advance from, you just have to repeat a few more times, and start from the beginning. You've dealt with those wrestlers that really struggled in the past and are new, and Bismarck High finds a way to improve them all. But it's usually because a lot of guys bring them along. You've never had to wait, because it's kind of like, iron will sharpen iron and the kids will catch up.
Sure.
Same type of thing. But it's going to be new. And until we get enough coaches in the state of North Dakota, we'll have that transition a few years where we'll get more women involved to be head coaches. And that's going to take a little bit. But when we say the numbers, now here's something that if people don't know this, it came out there. We had 53 girls that wrestled in the state girls wrestling tournament, unsanctioned tournament last year. And all classes are together. So both Class A and Class B are together in one. And this year, they have actually distinct weight classes. They went with the new ones that'll come next year. And also, guess what? We've got over 200 girls registered in both the boys and the girls side together right now. So basically a quadruple, 4 times the number of girls. The growth is phenomenal. And if Terry comes on, he'll come watch this eventually, and he will definitely just basically applaud. And it's quite the achievement. Now we just got to make it through the season and go from there. It's a great start for everybody out there.
Yeah. In fact, Kevin Morast, one of the guys in charge out at the North Dakota High School Activities Association, just sent us all an email today stating that at some point after January 1st, if the numbers warrant that there are teams out there, at least a minimum of 8 teams that can field 10 of the 14 weight classes, there will be a discussion on adding this year a dual meet aspect to the state tournament.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like you said, the growth is there. And I just took a look at some of those same numbers off of track wrestling that you probably saw, John. Those about 200 of them were listed there. And there's a few squads that you can take a peek at their rosters, and it does look like they're spread out enough to field
the chance of having a duel is good. Yes.
Yeah. It looks like there's definitely going to be at least 8 teams that can do that. In fact, Legacy and Bismarck High appear that we're eventually going to have 12 out of the 14 weights represented, and Century's at 9 right now. But there's girls even trickling in still. I had 2 more today come in, one from Bismarck High, one from Century High.
Well, I tell you what, Century has the weights. I know that Mandan's could be close. Their numbers with where they're at, they have several. They're really young, but a lot of these teams are really young, and it's just getting them an opportunity in North Dakota, especially. There's no, if you're not a basketball player, there's no other sport in a lot of these schools for girls to play in the winter. So big difference. It's awesome. Okay. Well, tell me, Nate, how are your girl numbers down there? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, so that's been a huge focus for me these first 3 weeks, honestly, and over the summer. So with how it is in South Dakota, it's a subdivision of wrestling. So like I'm the head coach of wrestling, and then we have our subdivisions of boys and girls. So it's my responsibility for the whole team. Now that's been a challenge. So you guys even talk about what a room looks like, right? Like Scotty, like you had said, he has to deal with a new kid coming out each year. I take that times like 10, right? It's like that new kid, but also they're super new when the girls come out, And how intimidating is it to be in a room full of 40 of your peers that are boys in the school trying to do something that you've never done before and be comfortable doing it. So we went out, and her name is Paige Storm. She's from Spencer, Iowa. She competed collegiately, wrestled. She was actually with Lennox, South Dakota last year, helped out with their girls. We actually kind of plucked her, and she's going to be a paid volunteer, and she's basically going to be like my girls coach. Now, to the T, I'm the coach, right? Anything happens, like that's on me. I'm still going to be involved, but it's been super positive because we've been able to, with that extension, create alternate practice times for those girls. So we don't have a room full of, 45 people, and they're kind of getting left in the dust. And we've been able to use another location in our district that has a wrestling room for them to have their own space. So that's been challenging just to get that all coordinated with our AD and get things logistically planned, right? When you have some middle school girls too, but busing girls from the middle school to the high school after practice, but then some days it'd be bused to another location in the district. But it's all in the best interest of those girls, and they're really freaking excited, man. They're like, I'm telling you, we're all together as a team in the mornings. So as of right now, we've been 2 days all year so far. We're lifting, running Monday morning, Tuesday morning drills on the mat. Wednesday we're running and lifting. Thursday I do give them off, and then Fridays it's all non-competition week. On a Friday we'll also be in there running and lifting in the morning, and the girls are with us for all those things. I mean, like this morning we did stations, we're doing bear crawls, down and backs, partner squats and double leg position, all those kind of mental drills. And I mean, they're in there getting it. So it's been super cool to have that time with them as a team and a whole squad, but then being able to give them a space where they don't have to be self-conscious. They don't have to feel like they're a burden to us. Like it can be like a focused time, kind of like the Bismarck girls are getting to have. Like it's we want to kind of offer an equitable thing in the same way. We just don't have the staff or the designation that they're their own thing. They're still with us. If that makes sense. So
yeah, it sounds like a great plan. Sounds like a pretty good opportunity. Hey, Nate, I want to kind of throw back to something that happened a few years ago and give us a little insight on how this felt. But I can't remember what the year is, but you'll be able to tell me. We're able to have a home duel in Spearfish, South Dakota. So.
When in my collegiate career?
Yeah,
that was awesome, man.
It was really a great experience. I was there and talk about a community coming out and being appreciative of all you West River guys that were there, but obviously it was your home, right?
Yeah, that was awesome. You talk about like even Martin Mueller was one of my good buddies, one of my teammates. He's from FC Central. Yeah, I'm sure maybe Bismarck saw him there for a lot of years too, down the rabbit tournament. And we all got to go out to. It's something that the coaching staff didn't have to do, but they had kind of mentioned it. I think actually they saw it was Coach Bono's first year. It was actually their first big win, SDSU. I had committed. I was a senior, and they went to Gillette, Wyoming, and beat Wyoming. It was when Tyler Cox was actually a senior. So they would have wrestled that duel in Laramie, but they wrestled it in Gillette. And I think that kind of stuck in Bono's head and was like, once we get like, I'm not saying I'm a super valuable guy, but someone that's worth that and is a home state wrestler. Like we're not going to go to Apple Valley for Seth Gross and wrestle a duel because it's his last duel. It wasn't like that, So I was lucky enough to get that opportunity. And yeah, especially with, like you said, it's not like it was a big duel opponent wise, it's not like we had, Nebraska coming down or Minnesota or an NDSU rivalry duel. It was, it was the South Dakota schools, which made it kind of like even more cool because you had Clayton Wallstrom who wrestled for Augustana. That's from Custer. That's a West River school. It was cool. Came with some stress. So I was like, I gotta whoop some butt here, man. But besides that, it was awesome, man. Yeah, it was an opportunity that I would say, basically 1% of college wrestlers get. So that's super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a great opportunity for you and for your, obviously your fans that grew up watching you all your lives and and it was fun. It was cool. It was less cool being on the other side of the guy that looked as scary and mean as you, going out actually just to whoop butt, but you weren't wrestling my kid, so that was okay. It was the other guys, but yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
It was also good for a guy. I have to give him a shout out. My dad, Pat Rotert, man, that guy is a psycho on the road. He would drive. He would get off work, take the day off at 10, drive to Brookings 6.5 hours, watch the duel. I mean, hopefully it didn't go in overtime, but usually it's going to be about 7 minutes. Get in his car, drive home, get home at 3 a.m., clock in the office and work. So it was good for him to be able to get in his car, drive 4 minutes, watch me wrestle, go home and get to bed. So I always had support, but that was awesome. Yeah, appreciate you bringing that up. That was a cool experience.
Nate,
cool.
I saw you wrestle quite a few times down at the Rapid City tournament because Spearfish was always there when we went. So I never really talked to you at all, I don't think, but it's good to meet you at least here online here, and good and continued success down at your first school down there. I really remember those days of coaching with all that fire when you're young and you just want to really jump in there and really make a difference right away. So I can see that in you now. So, and I did see you at D1s too a couple times.
Yeah.
So,
well, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it was. You probably didn't talk to me in Rapid City because we were all scared of Bismarck. You guys rolled in and we're like, all right, these guys. I don't want these guys to take my lunch money. So we were, but no, yeah, I appreciate it, man. It's I mean, you're doing it for a long time, but in my head, you only have you have this certain amount of time to be impactful, right? And especially at the level I can be, where these kids can still relate. I look young. I can be relatable to a different level. You have that slim period to do that. So I'm really happy to be able to. And yeah, no, I appreciate it, Scotty. You're like they said, you're a legend, man. So
definitely. Well, I tell you what, a couple of other big things. Nate, I do also want to touch on your, kind of there's a college question I'd written down earlier today, but I'm not by my office. But it was, this change in college wrestling of the NIL. Would you have used that to your, would you have got some fans and sold some t-shirts or did anything like that? What do you think about that change in college?
I mean, there's so many things I think about it, and it's all the perspective you look. As a coach now, I think that's a huge headache, a huge one. But then as an athlete, I think it's going to grow a sport like wrestling because there's always like another level for the footballs of the world or these other sports. And wrestling, unless you're Jordan Burroughs or you're someone that can get a shoe deal and go out there and win world titles, there's not a tremendous amount and getting the coaching. There's not a big after sport life. So I think it's really big for wrestling because even within our own community, we can support student athletes and create a better experience for them. But yeah, even at SDSU, a very small level, I just know the administrative paperwork that they put in place to kind of regulate it's a lot. And for myself, I don't know, man, it's a hard question to consider because the time I was coming up, that stuff didn't matter at all. I probably wouldn't have spent my time working on that. I would have spent my time trying to perform better in the room. I know it's a cliche answer, but that's honestly what would have happened. I wouldn't have thought about that for a second. So,
is there anybody you follow? A Spencer Lee, a Gable Stevenson, or anybody?
I got to be honest, man. At the start, I didn't like Gable that much. I watched because it's me because it's my teammate. I watched him absolutely punk our heavyweight Blake Walters, just beat him up, and it was there's dominating at the college level, and there's no remorse. I get that, but it was dude, just pin him or get off the mat. You're risking yourself. But now the more that I've seen him, and especially the way he's represented the United States, and that was when he was 18. This guy's been in the spotlight for a long time. So I'm actually a big Gable fan, and I think it's actually incredible what situation he finds himself in. That is insane to me that you have the chance that you've signed with the WWE, but you have the chance to win another national title after you just won an Olympic title. You'll never see that again. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. So I'm a fan of what he's been able to do for himself. And even with some of the adversity he experienced early on in his career, it wasn't picture perfect for him. So yeah, I'm a fan of Gable Stevenson, what he's been able to do. So
Yeah, he won the Doctronics there as a high schooler, right? As a senior year. So one of the few that came out and competed. So
yeah,
and he obviously was very obvious at that point that he was going to be someone to watch. And before that, but when they come out, a high schooler comes out and does it in a pretty good college tournament, it opens your eyes.
Absolutely.
No. So, Scotty, question for you. What college teams did you follow or have you been a fan of since you grew up?
You guys see that at all?
Oh, no.
UND,
we can see it.
North Dakota.
No. That's
That's
those are
Terry
Hawkeyes.
and Troy down in Iowa.
Oh, Iowa. That's them.
The
Oh,
t-shirt
that's
teams.
the TNT, Terry and Troy. Yep, I see
Yeah.
that now.
I thought I might be able to give him a shout out.
Oh, yeah.
You were going to sit.
I got
We
my Iowa
got
hat.
another Iowa up there. It's all right, Nate.
Yeah,
you don't have to. You don't have to listen to it all.
Actually, we also Nebraska. We had the opportunity also in the mid '90s. I had 3 guys wrestling at Nebraska: Jeremy Welder, Darren Giese, and Ryan Bauer were all 3 starting at the time. Bauer was in and out of the lineup, but the other 2 were a couple years start. Well, Jeremy was probably a 3-year starter. But they came up to Bismarck and dueled NDSU in the Bismarck Civic Center. So we had that opportunity, that same thing Nate was talking about. I don't know if you guys remember that, but you might have been off in college, John, somewhere. But
I was there watching the duel, though.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I don't know if you
Iowa came to NDSU when they were D2 with Terry Troy Steiner their senior year. So it's kind of an interesting thing. It happens now and then, but I still think it's rare. I don't think it happens that often. Some places we've all got to experience it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
I just wasn't in the starting lineup when Terry and Troy were there that year.
Oh, yeah.
I would have loved to wrestle someone from Iowa and get my butt kicked.
Yeah, I can say we had Iowa at home 1 year in Frost. That was an awesome duel. And we got to repay it and go to Carver Hawkeye. And here's the thing, man. Everyone wants to wrestle in Carver Hawkeye. Like, even if you haven't, go to Iowa. Like, that's an awesome thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, man, I'm 1-0 Carver Hawkeye with a forfeit.
There you go.
That's
you don't have to
good.
add that. You don't have to add the forfeit part. 1-0 is good enough.
Yeah.
B-Rack was that scared of me. Can you believe that? But it was. I was all amped up in the tunnel, man. I was like, okay. And you Iowa fans, man, you guys are rowdy, and I'm like, okay, I'm probably gonna lose. This guy's like number 2 in the country, but I'm gonna go wrestle my butt off. And I like tunnel vision, sprinted out there. I'm standing there scared in the middle. And they just raised my hand, and I was like, okay.
And this was easy.
Yeah, I guess hard cover hockey isn't that bad.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
You covered him.
Yeah. The place is easy to wrestle in, I guess. But cool experience. It was a cool duel there.
Yeah.
I went down and watched you wrestle Oklahoma State too a couple of years because Blease was wrestling on that team, a Bismarck High wrestler, and you guys wrestled a great duel against them that year down there.
Yeah, I think a lot of the ranked matchups we won. I know David Kocher beat Alex Crutchmer. I beat Weigel that year. We had Gross beat someone. I don't know, but then we also have to guys get really beat up. Alex Kocher wrestled why am I going to forget his name? Oh my gosh. I
should pull up that duel. I probably could find it.
Oh yeah, it was like Alex is good. Alex is good at wrestling. He got destroyed. And I cannot remember this kid's. I think I don't know if he All-American from Okie State, but he should have. I think he got hurt. I'm blanking on it, but no, that was also another good experience. Being in Stillwater and Iowa City wrestling those guys is, especially as the Pee-wees we were, was like, okay, this is fun. Have a good time here. So, yeah.
Yeah, great atmosphere to wrestle at in South Dakota State too. I went to a number of South Dakota State home duels. Was there at the Wyoming duel when Seth, bumped up and wrestled Meredith, and but what a great atmosphere it has been there. So I actually think, that's one of those things that I kind of wished upon NDSU the atmosphere can, get to be to the same level as it is at SDSU. So
yeah, I think they've kind of done some things to do that. I mean, when I was up there, gosh, I wasn't there last year, but when they brought in like the mat side seats down, like that's big. I mean, yeah, whenever NDSU comes to town, man, it is bonkers and Frost for sure. It's I mean, I think NDSU is doing a lot of the right things with their venue and stuff, but I mean, you got to get that base, and then like you got to win, and then it's really fun to get loud and win. And I think NDSU does, but Big 12 is also pretty tough. You got to wrestle all those teams. So
yeah, it is. Yeah, and the new facility, the shack at NDSU is going to be it is a great improvement, and I was there for the Bison Open, and I think it's definitely moving in the right direction that way. The program has been in pretty good shape, but I think the atmosphere of the duels, going to both of them was definitely better at SDSU, a few years ago. So I'm hoping that, we want to see that in all of our college towns, right?
I'm not sure if I want to see that at NDSU. If SDSU is going, I don't want that.
Yeah, that's good.
But no, I want it. That makes it more fun, right? I mean, that makes it an enjoyable experience and builds that dual atmosphere. Like, that's fun. It's really fun to do that with your teammates and get out there and have that energy. So
I'm going to hop back just for a second to your high school stuff. Now, looking at your schedule, have you made some changes a little bit to see different competition, or what are you doing now with Harrisburg? Because honestly, there are some teams that you don't usually get to see during the year, which I'm guessing you want to get more into that.
Yeah.
Like the peers and the,
We've been lucky enough we're in the East-West duels where we get to see like all the West River schools, and they meet up, and we kind of have meshed in there. So we'll see Sturgis, Spearfish, the Rapid schools, and get that opportunity besides the Rapid City tournament to see those guys. Getting peer duels in there. A lot of stuff that I have had to work through, though, is I kind of got to work with the schedule a little bit, but it was mostly in place before I got in there. My big thing is I don't necessarily want to go to a big, a Rumble on the Red type tournament yet. That's not my goal, but I do want to like get to Iowa or North Dakota and get somewhere where like our guys don't have to care at all about who they're wrestling. Oh, I'm going to see this. That's what high school kids do. I mean, I'm going to see this guy at regions, and I've wrestled him twice now. And but we also have the duel too, and I'll have a win over him. It's like, you just go wrestle the Bismarck kid, right? And like, who cares? Just throw it out there and get new competition. So I am looking into getting some one or two tournaments out of state next year where we can just like go wrestle, not care, get some different matches in there. But it's been relatively easy to get teams to wrestle us, which has been good. I think they see that we're up and coming, and it's I have high expectations for us, and I want us to wrestle the best teams in the state. So
throw out a couple names on your team that are really improving, and you see a good chance of being on the stand this year.
Yeah, well, we got a sophomore coming in at 145. His name's Logan O'Connor. I think he's played since he was an 8th grader. And I mean, dude, like Harrisburg, our football team just won a state title, and that dude was playing cornerback a lot of the year, 145 pounds. Like he's mean. He does not like losing. So he's athletic. He's coachable. I'll hand fight him after practice, and he loves it. Like he's that kind of kid. Then we got two seniors filling out at 182 and 220, and Ryan Hirschkorn and Aiden Viox. They both have a lot of easily coached skills. They're very different wrestlers. Aiden, I think he only has 4 or 5 years of experience, but like run through a wall kind of kid. Played the end on that state championship football team, blowing kids out of the water. He's super strong, super athletic. My goal for him is let's get to the state finals, and I'm certain I have a good relationship with Luke Rasmussen from Brookings, who is committed to SDSU, and that would be a very formidable opponent if we can get into the finals. But I think Aiden has a good skill set to wrestle with that guy. And then Ryan Hirschkorn, like for him and Logan O'Connor, it's like a state title or bust. I think those guys have that kind of skill, and I've been very, very transparent with them. Like, hey, you guys have the skill to do it. So you need to believe it. So yeah, those are just 3 names. But yeah, I think we have a lot of skill, a lot of young guys mixed with a lot of old guys. So.
Well, awesome. Well, give us a few names, Scotty, of your girls that you see really catching on. Because I know you got a couple girls that got a little experience, but
yeah, right.
Throw a few out that you see probably from each team if you can. That'd be great.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I anticipated this question because, well, honestly, there's some girls that I think deserve some recognition. They're picking things up. They're gonna. I believe that they're going to set themselves up for a high place on the podium. I'll start at Legacy. There's a couple of girls there. They're both relatively young. There's an 8th grader that has quite a bit of wrestling experience by the name of Aaliyah Cullinan. And she's in that 130-pound range and 25 possibly after a 2-pound allowance. I'm not sure what she wants yet. I don't know a lot of the kids, what their desires are. Once we start competing, I'll be able to hash some of that stuff out where we want to look down the road and land what weight class we want to land in. But she's showed a lot of good skill already for. She's been on the boys teams though, in the middle school already and came up through the club system. And then there's another gal over at Legacy. I want to say she's a sophomore. Her name is Elizabeth Yobute, and she's looking good in the room. I mean, and she's wrestling some decent girls too. So that's just going to help her even grow further.
Sounds like you brought her in from Serbia or somewhere.
I want to say she did tell me where she has family originally. I Ghana possibly.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, and then or maybe that I 45 girls, trying to learn them all. At first I started taking roll, but it took me too long to take roll. So what happened, so I could learn the names. So what happened is I had to do a cut line for a picture on each of the 3 teams, and that really helped me. That brought me further along, learning all the different names of everybody. So those were a couple of Legacy girls. Up at Century, there's a do you remember Roy Ogden?
Yes.
Yeah. When I referred to my time in the room in the spring of Terry and Troy's junior and senior year, Roy was one of my kids at Mandan, and he worked out with us quite a bit too. So he had a lot of drive, a lot of physical traits. Came out first as a sophomore ever, and then he took a 5th and a 2nd at state. So he moved along quite a way. He's got a granddaughter by the name of Ray Ogden, and she's showing a lot of promise too.
I know Ray.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
She was part of the.
She was in the Century room with the boys for a while. Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah, and she's got some drive. She tweaked her knee a little bit, so we're trying to get that ready for next week's competition. So we're just backing off a little bit. She doesn't like to do that. I
didn't know that was Roy's granddaughter. That's really cool.
It's his granddaughter. Yeah. Yeah. And I asked her about Roy, and unfortunately he passed away a couple of years ago. I was sorry to hear that because I haven't stayed connected with him. I haven't seen him in a few years.
I did not know that either.
Yeah. So that was a kind of a sad thought to have. But so, and then there's also a promising heavyweight there by the name of Tiki Keller Williams or Williams Keller. I got to get that straight. Hyphenated last name, but she's showing a lot of promise too. And she's brand new. So, but she's just showing she's a smart girl. I believe she's a junior, but she's going to graduate at the end of this year. I really like her personality because she's real inquisitive. She wants. I think she's got some drive for some passion. We've got have some work to do with her, but I think she's going to be there in the end. Down at Bismarck High, LJ's little sister's been in wrestling for quite a while. I'm going to try to do this right, but Araujo.
Yeah.
Araujo. Anyway.
The Brazilian names.
Yeah. Julia is her name, and she's showing a lot of promise. She's got some background. She picks things up quick. Has a lot of similarities with LJ in that regard. Being able to pick things up fairly quickly.
And she's tough and young. She's young, and so
yeah, she's young and she's gritty and she's tough, and she's been around wrestling circles for a while, and then we've got actually a new girl. She's got a little brother wrestling too. Her name is Ashley Potter. And she's really showing some promise too and picking things up quick. Then there's a couple other little gals that I think are going to make a splash that have had some prior experience. So we've got a few on each team that I think are going to really shoot for something relatively high on the podium by the end of the year. I use one of my visuals that I try to use as a diagram of I just show the improvement slope, but it's not a linear, it's not a straight line going up. It's more like a stock market going up, but at the final point is at the end, the stock market grew quite a bit, but it wasn't a straight line. There were some ups and downs throughout the year. And I've used that analogy with the boys coaching for quite a few years. And I'm using that with these girls just to, hey, where you're at here at the beginning, even some of you new girls, I've seen a lot of promise and a lot of drive and a lot of hard work. At the end, you're going to be up here, so just, like you said, Nate, you got to just continually give them the confidence level that they need until they start buying in and believing in themselves. Yep. So that's kind of where we're starting right now and where we want to end up. And I'm not thinking that anything but trying to get these girls to strive to be on that podium. I mean, there's 14 weights, there's 8 place winners in each weight, so there's a lot of room there. I want them all shooting for someplace on that podium.
Well, awesome.
We'll see what happens.
Well, I tell you what, not that I'd give great advice for girls wrestling yet, but I'd say you could avoid that Tom Hanks line. There's no crying in baseball, so you can't use this. No crying in wrestling. Just have to stick with that a little bit. But no, I'm excited. I'm so excited. It gives me goosebumps, honestly, for how great the girls program is going in the state of North Dakota. It's just at a level that everybody has an opportunity to improve, because we know there's so little experience that you're going to see this growth curve go huge for the girls. They just have to catch on a couple good moves in the basics, and you can go so far. We had one of our North Dakota girls from Devils Lake just sign at Jamestown College this week. And things will happen like that with Minot State having girls wrestling. You're going to get some of these girls to sign.
So Jenna, was she the one?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. Jenna Gerhardt from Devils Lake signed at Jamestown. Big step. That's, you start seeing some of these North Dakota girls get an opportunity to wrestle at the next level. That's going to interest other girls to do that too. They're their first superstars in the state for that.
I did not see Jenna signing. When was that?
Yesterday or the day before. Yep.
Good.
Monday, I bet. Yeah, it must have been Monday.
Yeah. I saw her out at Steiner's camp this summer, and then she also participated in the one that James Porter ran in Mandan.
Yep, and she
wrestled last weekend every week.
She wrestled 106 at Devils Lake in the boys, or in Minot last weekend in the early bird tournament in the varsity boys division, and won it. Went 3-0 against some young kid, one kid from Velva, another kid from Lax Burlington, but wrestled well, had one close match. The rest she dominated. She's got a little elbow. I don't know if she hyperextended her elbow a little bit, her right elbow, so I could see her babying that a little bit. And so she's a tough girl, and she's going to have a good season. It was good to watch her up there. And I did watch. They reduced the numbers, and I'll have to ask again James Porter a little bit. They were thinking of bringing all their girls, so I didn't see all the Mandan girls there. They had about 35, I think, wrestle in that tournament last weekend. And
I tell you what, for me, I would have had to split my team because I just couldn't. I just couldn't take some of these new girls. They're just a little too green to throw them into competition right now. As a matter of fact, I found out after the first 2 or 3 days of my practice, I had to pivot. After the third day, I'm thinking, oh, please God, let some of these girls return tomorrow. I thought that I ran them all off the team, and so I had to. I didn't know if we're making adjustments. We're trying to pivot where we need to. You just can't take some of these girls that have never participated in a sport. They're getting sore and they're thinking they're hurt. So, there's some of those issues that we have to fight through, and they have to realize over time what an injury is and what maybe some discomfort or an owie is. And I think the first couple weeks, that message is at least getting through, that they have to figure it out. Because too many girls on the side of the wall with an icing is kind of what we saw at first, and now that we're getting away from a lot of that. So, but they're figuring it out. They're figuring out. I found out my approach is a lot softer with girls than they are with boys. So, you
can ramp it up toward the end of the year.
Yeah. I think things are steadily increasing now. Like I said, we're on our third week, and Nate. So do you? I know you said you have a girl liaison type coach, but you get in there and do some coaching with the girls too, then, or?
Yep. So we've had
on the mat.
Yep. So they came to open mats, honestly, 3 or 4 of them when I was running open mats preseason and during the summertime. So I had a connection with that. They came into our preseason lifts and cardio workouts that we ran. But honestly, this is what started happening is not saying I have the biggest wealth of knowledge with wrestling, but I know some of these higher level boys that we have. I can offer a lot of things to positions they need to get better in. And I know it can be valuable use. That being said, I'm telling you, man, those first 2 weeks, even leading up to season or these open mats, I was spending pretty much my whole time with the girls. Even the conversation, sprawling. It's not the most. It's kind of a abnormal movement, right? Yeah, you get your legs back, but no, you're throwing your legs back and falling down is really what you're doing. So even trying to, one of them's a former gymnast. So she's very flexible, athletic, had an injury that doesn't allow her to participate in gymnastics anymore. So a lot of potential. But yeah, wrestling's weird. So every movement is just not normal to what you're used to doing. So to answer your question, a lot. And what ended up happening is then I'm throwing my assistants over with our guys who they do a great job with them. My assistants are awesome. And that being said, you're kind of getting at, I'm happy that you have intentional time with them and you can kind of keep it all right here. But when it's all together in one room, it's it is everywhere. You have some boys that could honestly benefit with just working out with the girls with what they're working on. And then some boys that are right in the middle. And then the guys that need some higher level stuff, which you've dealt with for years in your position. But the girls are very coachable. And like you kind of said, they there's a little different energy there than even with the boys. They feel, because I thought about last year in South Dakota. I mean, I was watching it. I didn't make it to the state tournament. I was watching it online, and there's girls on that podium that there's probably girls around the state going, "What? She ran track last year and was a 4x1 champion, but she just went and won the state title for Brookings. How is that?" So I bet you we're getting a lot of that. We're having girls come out because they're like, I could be either cut from the basketball team or be way down the bench, or I could go do something. And I really appreciate that because they've kind of dove all in on it. But I spent a lot of time with them, and I know they were super appreciative. So
I know one of the things we did pivot to this year is I had to split the room up because we had, like I said, we have some just green, brand new, fresh wrestlers. And when you also couple that with sitting on the wall for a day or two, not getting to do anything because there's a possibility of thinking you're hurt and just can't really don't know what it's like to battle through some soreness or whatever it might be. Even the trainers are kind of telling me that's what's occurring here a little bit. They're just not real aware of what their body can fight through and what they can't yet.
Yeah.
So we actually split our group up into just a review type group and then plugging ahead, keep moving forward type. So that's something that helped a lot this week.
Yeah, that's smart. And we've been doing that pivoting as well. Like there's a lot of my team policies, right, that have been very flexible for the girls. One of my policies actually so Cody Caldwell, assistant coach at SDSU, his dad Rick Caldwell, in Iowa is actually for Waverly Shell Rock was Hall of Fame coach. And I kind of picked his mind previous to the season and talked about absent practices. I was like, what do you do? And he was like, what I always did is they had to make them up. It could be something as simple as you're coming in and stretching, but like you're going to have to find time to make it up. But that also takes my time. But you're going to find it's not a punishment. It is you're going to meet the expectation that's set, and we're going to not miss a chance to get better. Well, with the girls, we've kind of had to pivot on that because, like you said, we've had a girl, her shoulder was hurt, and then she had asthma, and then her knee hurt. Had a girl with her ankle, and it's like,
I've got that same girl.
Yeah. And that being said, I could absolutely run them into the dirt and be like, all right, you have 6 workouts. It's all marked down on our chart that for everyone to see because we have our accountability chart that has however many workouts you missed and what you need to make up so everyone can see what work needs to be done. And I could sit there and put 5 or 6 workouts on there and then make them come in on a Sunday twice and then make them come in after school on an off day, but they'll leave before they do that. So being able to pivot and be empathetic, but also build some toughness it's a challenge, but I mean, even
it's a challenge and we're figuring it out. It seems like as we go. So
being flexible.
Well, I tell you, Nate, I might give you your information to Terry Steiner. He can give you a call and give you a little pep talk. Talking to the Olympic coach. He was on the Patriot Awards the other night for Mensa Stock. I almost broke into tears seeing Terry announce some stuff right at the beginning. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but giving her the American Athlete of the Year or whatever, the American.
The most valuable Patriot Award.
Yep, that's what it was.
I saw that too.
Yeah,
I saw Terry's little blurb too. Yeah,
that's the part that all of a sudden it just wham, it hit me because it's right. It was right at the beginning of it. I'm going, hey, we know him. Of course, he knows us too, but it's that's big time.
No, Steiner's a good guys. I mean, I was able to know Troy enough when he was at Oregon State. Had some times at the OTC when I was there. Got to see both those guys, and the best thing is, I mean, they don't forget you. Like they remember who you are, and they'll talk with you, and they'll make it a meaningful conversation. And along with that, they're pretty well decorated, man, but they don't act like it. They're very
down to earth. They're as good as anybody I know in the wrestling community.
I've appreciated. I mean, it's not like I'm as tight as you guys would be, but I don't have a negative thing to say about either of those guys. They're everything I appreciate about the wrestling community. The people they are and how it's a meaningful interaction every time. So I really enjoy the Steiners. They're good people. So
definitely. Well, I tell you what,
I want to give a shout out to somebody. I want to give a shout out, Nate, to somebody you referred to, Martin Mueller. His dad, Dean Mueller, was 2 years younger than me. Wrestled at Bismarck High, and he usually watches this kind of stuff. He's really stays involved with on the outskirts of being a real, I don't know if he's a rabid fan, but he's a very knowledgeable wrestling fan.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
Hey, Dean, if you watch this, maybe he won't be watching it live, but I'll bet you any money he goes back and watches the rerun version that you have online, John.
Yep.
Well, Martin came up and wrestled at the Team North Dakota camps a couple of summers too. So he's got a lot of ties to the.
And I've known Martin since he was in 7th grade because Central pulled him up then. Didn't really obviously know a lot about him until he was my teammate. A couple years older than him. Actually, he was my roommate for a year. My senior year, he was me, David Kocher, him. Josh Casperson, if you know that name, Nick Casperson's older brother. But that being said, Dean and Annie are good people. Like, I mean, they really are. And they've given a good situation for Martin and his sister, Morgan. But I've also heard a lot of stories from Martin about how Dean teaches toughness. He has a lot of good stories about their rock beds. Martin had to take out each rock from the rock bed and wash it, and then put it back in, or he had to clean the driveway, and then Dean would drive his truck out of the driveway or whatever it is, be like, "You gotta clean this, Martin." And I mean, he's being dead serious. So I got some good stories for Martin, but Dean's been super good to me. I know my dad has, and actually my mom and my dad have created a really good relationship with the Muellers, being able to travel out together, watch matches and stuff. And like another cool thing, like our parents have been able to create a connection because of the sport of wrestling. So
Yeah.
And
Morgan gets married tomorrow.
Mm-hmm,
No, not tomorrow, Friday.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to get Morgan to come up to the SDSU game with me. I was like, hey man, like Club 71 level tickets if you want to come. And he's like, dude, you really got to tell me that right now? He's like, I'm in Rapid City for my sister's wedding. I was like, okay. Well, but yeah, no, that'll be a good thing. It's awesome that you know them well. They're good people in there.
Yeah.
They're in my circle for sure. So
yeah, cool. Yeah.
It's a great world, wrestling. I tell you what, the connections and the friends you make. I wouldn't replace it for nothing in my life. The wrestling connections and the friends and how deep a friendship it is. You know, it's that one thing you say, once a wrestler, always a wrestler. It's there, definitely. Well, Billy, you fired up a couple
Jeff,
questions. Oh yeah,
I was going to just tell you, Jeff and I met. I was a sophomore coming into Bismarck High from Hughes, and he was a junior already, came in from Simile, so I didn't know him in junior high. But he was a 98-pound varsity kid, and he was a state champ that year. And then I was a 98-pound JV kid under him. But like you said, lifelong friends. We've been best friends since my sophomore year, his junior year.
Mm-hmm.
So
they had a stream.
And I've got a lot of my other buddies are high school buddies, and wrestling buddies.
Yeah.
So
hey Scott,
did you see one of your best friends your whole life, Jeff Schumacher?
Yeah. This weekend, the Tanafu boys there had wrestled in the semifinal of the Findlay Open, and had pretty good battle there. Pardon me? Wilfred won, and then lost a real close one to Kurt McHenry, a teammate, another Michigan guy, former world champ. So those guys are, getting some matches under the belt, and I'm sure getting, as you would guess, I'm sure they're getting better every day. There's two kids that work hard, so fun to see.
Yeah. Those, I spent quite a bit of time with them this last spring and summer, just off the mat, even doing, just kind of taking them doing other things. They came to church with me. They're just good kids to try to kind of mentor almost. So, but yeah, and then a couple other kids, that Hughes kid, he's a good kid. He was kind of hanging out with us too a little bit, and we would just try to keep them motivated on path of not just their wrestling goals, but their kind of their life situation goals too. So yeah, it's a kind of a cool position we get to be in at times as coaches.
Definitely. Well, I tell you what, you're going to have to pay close attention, Nate. A guy that, Nate, I always considered you one of the strongest wrestlers when I watched you. And one of the strongest kids, pound for pound in the state, is a kid that got injured, and he's on the Bismarck High team. And he said to me last night he's going to find a way back, but he had a huge injury. He's a football stud, and this is that Hoos kid we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep. And he reminds me of you style-wise in high school when I watched you wrestle, Nate. And they had to remove his calf on one of his legs.
Oh,
and
wow.
And so he's a 3.5-legged man. And I'm talking man, this guy is put together and he puts in the time. Good
he was
kid,
a man
works
as
hard.
a freshman.
And
so what was his injury exactly?
It was something called a compartmental injury, or something with compartment in the title of it, where I want to say it was it got swollen up, it got and it was killing the calf muscle. He had to have a compartmental surgery. I've never heard of it before.
Man, that's too bad. That's too bad.
Yeah.
And so it'd be a good one to have his dad or him on here to explain it to us. I don't know exactly what it is either, but I do know.
I've gotten the explanation. It's just that 50 plus years, or not quite, 50 plus, almost 60. So I think I'm going to blame it on that. Sometimes I can't, my recall on when I'm not, unless I'm really in tune with what somebody's telling me, made me writing some notes down. I just get the gist of it. It was a swelling in there. It was kind of killing the muscle. He had to have compartmental surgery, or I don't know, something with compartment in the title, the name of it.
But he'll outwork anybody not wrestling right now to be there, and I look forward to seeing what he can do this year.
Yeah, that's
yeah. He is on track to come back. I don't know if you guys knew that, but I just found that out. It's even going to be sooner rather than later. So
hey, man,
he's ahead of his pace where they projected originally. They didn't even know he was going to walk correctly at one point, with his gait and his walk, but he's surpassing some of those early indications. It was a football injury, Nate, is he was an all-state running back also.
Gotcha. No, I mean, I'll be definitely following along, man. This may sound bad. It's like that kid has to live with that forever, but like also he gets to live with that forever. Like do the things that he does with that adversity at a young age. It's a unique opportunity to do something pretty cool. I know the Kocher brothers, David and Alex, their oldest brother, Ryan.
Yeah.
You ask those boys, and they're like, anyone to bet who's the best coacher? Ryan. Ryan was the best. They always say Ryan was the best. Yeah, that guy had a pretty unfortunate thing happen. He loses his leg and comes back and places highly under 5 months from the injury. Like it's incredible stuff. So I mean, I think, I'll be following along, man. That's too bad to hear, but what a unique opportunity to do something pretty special. So.
Yeah, South Dakota historians, that year was phenomenal. I mean, everybody at the state tournament. Of course, I've been there for many years. That was a tearjerker. That was awesome. Everybody was rooting for him. He did a great job.
Those Wagner teams, man, at that time, you looking back now, I mean, you have Robert Kokesh, who to this day, I believe, should have been a national champion. One of the best humans I've ever met. You have the Kocher brothers, 2 All-Americans. I mean, like Ryan, with the skill he had, obviously could have been a Division I wrestler, been a talent. That's all in Little Wagner, South Dakota, and that wasn't people moving in. That was all the farmers put their boys on the wrestling mat at a young age, and they got really good.
And their coach Wayne Shear had a horse in the Kentucky Derby last year.
Oh, the Shear family.
Yep. Oh yeah. But no, we've over that hour point. I know we could talk forever, but I want to do some questions. Bill, do you have any quick questions before I
do not.
You do not. Okay, I'm going to throw these since you guys are both new on here. I do some rapid fire questions, get some personality out of you. So both you can ask these. These are not long answers or long questions, for most of them, that is. And what I'll do is, let me open those up. And I'll go with you first, Scotty, and then you can go Nate next when they pop up on the bottom of the screen. It should pop up in a half a second here, technology-wise. But it is... Did it pop up there? No. Okay. What would it be like? Oh, maybe I put up a different one.
Yeah.
Let's feel free to ask questions. I hit up the wrong banner. Might have to have Bill. Do you have these same banners on your side?
No.
Okay. I got them on mine. Okay. There it is. What is it like to be coached by you if you're asked by your wrestlers?
Intense at times, but fun at times.
Okay. Nate?
What it's like to be coached by me? It's a blessing. I'm just kidding. No, it's I would say it's fun. It's a good time. We're serious, but we're not too serious. So.
Okay. Here we go. Next one. Gator or Powerade?
I've seen this before, and honestly, I couldn't even tell you the difference. I don't even know. If you put them in Dixie cups beside each other, I don't even know. I'm not either one. I never get
You're a water guy.
Water right here.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Water guy. I would say
I'd go Gatorade only because it's older and like me.
I'm just gonna go Powerade because Scotty said Gatorade. That's what. I'm
Okay. Next one: popsicles or dilly bars?
Dilly bars for me.
Dilly bars, man. You get you get some actual ice cream in there. Like popsicle's not an ice cream. It's just
Okay. It's kind of funny how many people do the popsicles, but okay. Give me 3 characteristics that all wrestlers need to have.
Mental toughness, conditioning, not that you need a wealth of technique, but a handful of things that you can do well.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I would say toughness is number one. It's a cliche thing, but I mean, tough people win in wrestling. I would say coachability, especially with so much technique there is nowadays and how the sport's evolved. You got to be coachable. You can't have pushback up there. And then, I mean, I would probably say, like dedication, like dedicating. Especially in high school, 3 months of your year to doing the best you can. It's not too much to ask. So dedication, toughness, and coachability is what I would say.
That is awesome. Okay. Are you a mama's boy or a rebel?
Well, I've got to go rebel because I'm not a mama's boy.
Hey,
I mean, nothing wrong with being a mama's boy, but
yeah,
it's just not the path I took.
You better watch it, man, because I'm a mama's boy through and through.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Lynette Rotert is the salt of the earth. You can't find a woman better than that, and I'll do anything for her. She's the best.
Awesome. Okay. Are you fast-paced or consistently slow?
Fast-paced.
Yeah, you talking like wrestling?
Just you in general.
I'm fast-paced, yeah.
Okay. For yourself and for your athletes, do you like physical or mental athlete? And for yourself? Were you a physical athlete, Scotty?
I was an average size 18 pounder, but I'd say the mental side of it, the mental toughness and mental preparedness, I'd probably have to go mental.
Okay.
Mental athlete.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I was lucky enough to have some God-given physical ability, but I mean, it all changed when I found out the mental piece. But yeah, I wish it would have clicked a little earlier. But that's the mental thing stays forever. Like, you can be hitting your 60s and still have that mental capacity to do tough things. Where, hey man, your body stops at some point. So.
I like your answer because that's how I was. I grew up to guess what? You better out physical everybody. And my dad told me when I grabbed somebody, you don't let go. So I had many guys, I didn't, I just held on, and people would go, God, how come you just, when you grab me, you don't let go? And I said, you're not supposed to. And okay, well, but I didn't have the mental side for a long time. And that was huge. And honestly, Terry Troy Steiner High School changed that for me a lot because guess what? There was more than that. There was a different side that you had to look into. And being a student of the game, I really didn't care as a physical athlete who I was going up against, and I didn't plan for it more, but I knew there was another level as soon as they started bringing that mental part of it to the game. And so I give them a big shout out for that part. Okay, favorite holiday?
Christmas time.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a big 4th of July guy. For reasons I won't disclose. But
okay.
It's a good time.
Dan Gable or Cale Sanderson?
Dan Gable.
I mean, I'll go Cale.
Saw that coming.
Okay. Favorite number?
18.
9.
Okay. Any reason for each one of those?
For me, I was a college athlete at 118 for all 4 years. So,
okay.
Number 9, because in Spearfish, I wanted a jersey for my football jersey that would be tight enough so my arms look big, and the single digits were like that. So I took 9, and then from there on, I like the number 9. That's it.
That's awesome.
There you go.
Again, a good one. You learn something every time. That's why we do these personality. Best wrestler you ever wrestled. And you could multiple ones if you want.
Mine, I would say, sorry, I cut you off. I mean, it's easy. I mean, every time I lost at Fargo, every time I lost the World Team Trials, it was always Kyle Snyder. And even when the kid was a freshman, I felt like I couldn't do anything. Every time I wrestled him, like I've never felt like I don't belong on a mat more than that point. He was unreal. So I would say Kyle Snyder, and I can't say I did square push out on him. One pushed him out of the circle. So Kyle Snyder,
I think he pushed you and you circled.
He had a single leg, was trying to run me out of bounds, and I like kicked around, and his momentum was going, and I just pushed him out. And then
that's pretty good.
I don't tell that part of the story, John.
I don't know. I'd probably have to either say Matt Eglund. He was a runner-up for Iowa. I majored him out in the Madison, Wisconsin at the what was that one? The Northern Open?
Northern Open, yep.
Yeah, Northern Open in Madison. And then I also beat Matt Campbell. He was a Montana kid, but he was wrestling for Nebraska when I was at UND, and I beat him in the Bison Open in the semis. And then Ed Giese was supposed to make the finals, but he got beat. So then I had probably an easier match in the finals when I won the Bison. So
okay. Here's another good one. Sometimes I find out some interesting stuff. Any habit you learned in wrestling that you still do today?
Let me think about that, Nate. You got something right away?
Yeah, I mean, I could eat this last weekend. I ate like crap and had a couple beers. I was like, you know what? I didn't work out. So on Monday, I didn't eat a single thing until I worked out. And then I still didn't eat that much. And I like still have that fasting nature in my diet. If I feel like I eat too much than I deserve at that point, then I'm gonna be like, all right, you either gotta work out or you gotta not eat for a little bit. So
no, that's great.
I can't say it's a healthy thing, but it is what
it's discipline
in me, yeah, for a long time. So
I still weigh myself. So, and then back when our day, now they weigh in singlets. Well, we weighed in buck naked. And so I even take my underwear off and I still weigh in the morning. So
I do every day. Yep. And I drink water like it's out of style. Like when there's a big glass, I put it down. It's done. So it could be a drinking problem too, if it happens that way. Okay. Now, this is usually a tough one for some of them. Only a couple questions left.
That's an easy one for me. I can handle that one right away.
Okay.
So you North Dakota guys probably know this, but I lost my wife from cancer in 2020, March of 2020, right before COVID was. We always watched The Voice, and I still do. It's one of the few things that it's kind of hard to do some of the same things still without her being here, but that's one of the things I still do. And I love The Voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's very entertaining for me.
Yep.
I get a kick out of the blinds, especially. And, and I think Blake is funnier than heck. And it's,
See, I would say The Voice as well. That's something ironically my wife and I watch. So that's a cool connection, man. Sorry to hear about your wife. A while back, but
that's okay.
Yeah. So with that, it hasn't been the same for me since there's no Team Adam. I was a big Adam guy, and now he's been gone. I mean, you're placing with Ariana Grande, and I'm like, it's just not the same, man. So that being said, Blake Shelton makes that show, so it's a good time to watch Blake.
Yeah, definitely. And the last question: if there was anything that you really wanted to get out there, what would be the biggest step in your coaching philosophy going into a season? Team unity. Sometimes, I know college, when I talk to the college guys, I'll just give you a little premises on this, that they said last year was not the same and they had to do a different coaching philosophy because, that tightness of having a team together and they had little pods and doing everything else. I don't know. Some coaches have different philosophy, if it's team first, if it's, how do you start your season off coaching philosophy? Starting with the basics. What about you, Scotty?
Well,
this year will be different for you.
Yeah, this year's going to be different. Let me just say something new. It's something that I'm pivoting, something that Terry helped me with. He said that you would be wise, you'd be well served if you weren't so worried at the beginning of practice, getting the girls, hey, it's 4:00. Let's go. Start running. Let's go. You'd be better off served sitting down with them and just visiting with them and talking and just develop, have some conversation, get to know them personally a little bit, just as a group. And so I've started to do that. And the day I started to do it is after the third day of practice. I thought we were it was a tougher practice. It's been getting tougher, and it was too much too early, I think. And that next day I sat him down and I talked to him for about a half an hour. And I even told, I don't know, this might be too long to.
No, you can go. This is awesome.
I told, when I was in college, I'm a dog guy. You didn't ask that one, cat guy or dog guy, but I had a little kitten and it kind of kept purring and scratching on my head. I would grab it and throw it across the room. I'd feel a little guilty about it, but not too bad. And just a little kitten, just a loving, purring little thing. And then I had to take it in to get it neutered. His name was Simon. And I found out I had to get it spayed. And then I was so nice to that cat from then on. I never threw it. That's why I think if I had any daughters, they'd probably run all over me. I had two boys. So one of them wrestled for me. The other one kind of got out of sports in middle school. But so that kind of shows you my approach with these girls is a little softer too, because that's just my tendency, I think. So I shared that with them and they all kind of got a kick out of that. And so I'm spending some time, definitely a different approach, different philosophy than coaching the guys. I would have never, hey, it's time to go. We got to go. So anyway.
Yeah. We're very much go time. The same. You're talking about how you treat the boys, but it's kind of my thing has been, and it really moves away from wrestling. But I've told the guys, and I try when we're in practice, we're serious, and I talk about I'm big into visualization, right? So like speaking into existence what I think these guys can do and having them do it themselves. That being said, I'm big into not making the sport too big. Because I think all of us kind of hit at a point where whether you're a high school kid or you're a college kid, that sport becomes you. It's your identity. And I never want those guys to run into that where that's all they have. Like I make it very clear to them that wrestling is a huge platform for them to build a lot of awesome skills. But at the end of the day, like my biggest thing is after every practice, I grab some kid. We have a football. I play football with them. We toss a frisbee for 10 minutes. We don't talk a second about wrestling. So my philosophy is to just not make it bigger than what it is. Allow them to come in, enjoy the sport, hopefully be successful and be coachable. But at the end of the day, I want them to be able to come back as an electrician, going to a tech school and be like, hey, like Coach Rotert, I appreciate you, man. That day you're throwing the frisbee with me, it was nothing about wrestling, but it was a lot about just being a part of something that was fun. So, my philosophy is, like I said, we're serious, but we're not too serious. So
that is, I tell you what, great interview, guys. Bill, last questions, and then we'll hang it up. See how quick this was, Scotty? You didn't have to have a lot. You weren't right. You said you worried about having stuff to bring to the show. It's easier than that. Same with the other people that if they want to get on, a lot of people watch this. You can get a hold of me. I plan on bringing about 2 guests on every week. Want to touch both North and South Dakota, so I'm trying to do that in both girls and guys wrestling. So that's where I'm at. Bill?
Yeah, I don't have any more questions. I just want to kind of throw out one thing. I want to have everybody, maybe if they have a chance to keep the Moore family, Caden Moore's family. We lost the wrestler at Northern State last week unexpectedly, and it's been a tough week, obviously, for the wrestling community, and just everybody keep Caden's family and the Northern wrestlers and the Legends of Gold wrestlers and the O'Neill, Nebraska wrestlers and the whole community in their prayers. It was it's been a tough week that way, and was down there and be able to spend some time with the family and the wrestlers, and it's a tight knit group, just like you're saying. There are people there from South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, and everybody wrap their arms around the family, but those people are all going to go home, and they're still going to need our love and support. So just if you got a minute, just please say a prayer for the family.
Will do.
Yeah, no, Bill, I appreciate you bringing that up. That's I had the pleasure of knowing Caden. And yeah, it's one of those things, especially my profession as a counselor. It's a weird dynamic being a wrestling coach, where it's a very much get tough and get it done mentality, but at the same time, that's why I mean what I say, where like wrestling's not life, and there's a lot going on, and people are fighting their own battles. So, yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. That's a really good person that left us. So, and that's why so many people were involved and continue to try and be involved, because that was a blind side for a lot of people, but it shows that you got to care for the people close to you. So yeah, think of their family. Definitely.
And Scotty, any last words for you?
I'm looking forward to this first competition, especially the tournament. The Mandan Lions is going to have be hosted over at Legacy because of the lack of space at the Mandan facility. So
the girls
it's still called the Mandan Lions tournament, but it'll be over at Legacy High School. So I'm looking forward to seeing how some of these girls that I think are getting there, and seeing how they can perform, and just seeing where we're at, and then seeing where what we have to get better at for some of them. And I'm just anxious for the competition to get started. Just getting excited for it.
Okay. Well, good deal. Well, thanks everybody for watching Dakota Grappler. Anytime you want to see anything, subscribe over on YouTube, or guess what? We're bringing this to Facebook, and every show gets 500 plus extra visits, and you name it, all this other stuff always doesn't show up like the views on YouTube, because everything goes online other places. It's also on Twitter, other places. Ed Malone, thanks guys. He says you guys are doing your best, and good luck this year. Great show. I tell you what, I would do this anytime with you guys. If you ever need anything, support, if you need something put out to the media, just get it to me and I'll put it out, and we'll see what happens from there. So thanks again.
Right.
Come and watch. We're doing every Wednesday, and you'll see a lot more new people on there, and just have a good time. Support wrestling, and pray for everybody.
Thanks for having us, John, and I appreciate what you do for wrestling, and you too, Bill. I know you're a pretty avid wrestling fan, and you tune up with all of your knowledge and research. So I appreciate that. Whenever I've watched you before, you guys. So keep doing what you're doing. Nice
Thanks,
to meet
Scotty.
you, Nate.
Yeah.
Looking
Nice.
forward to the first. Mate, are you guys you're not at Rapid though, right?
Oh, we're Rapid. Yeah, we're out there.
Okay, I'll see you down there. We'll touch base.
Hey, bring your shoes, man. We'll roll around.
Okay, you guys have a great night. Catch you again.
All right. See you guys.